Hey everyone, and welcome to part 4 of the Nv4500 swap. We last left off having the transmission in there and stuff, and I was waiting on parts for my transfer case. So I got the parts, the snap ring and stuff for my transfer case. They're put in, I glued it back together or sealed it up, and we're ready to install that. But in the meantime, since I had time, since I was waiting on parts, we decided to gut the the transmission cooler that was on the side of the block. That involves, I already took it out, I didn't take a video. It involves taking out 4 bolts on the side of the block and on your bell housing, the adapter plate on the back of the motor. 2 in there, 2 on the side of the block. You pull that off, and then you have rad lines. So what I did was just run a piece of rad hose in between the 2 of them. We'll just show you that now. Alright, so you can see this loop down here. I think I'm going to change it after, but the loop goes right there, up, and into back in there. It's really tight between your alternator there because the lines used to go out through the cooler and back. So you just pull those off. It's no problem. And just put a loop in there and that'll seal it back up. And you're going to have coolant spill out, but that's what you got to do. So next we'll get on to doing the transfer case. Alright guys, so we're under the truck. I got the transfer case jacked up. I'm not going to show you how to put it in because it's the same as pulling it out. Just make sure you got that rubber vent tube on there and then that block for all your vacuum hoses on top. And slide it in and put your 6 nuts back on. And that's installed. And then we can get to doing our drive shafts. And we're pretty much done under here. Alright guys, the transfer case is in there. And it was a bitch to get it in there, to slide it in. I had to really just jiggle and jiggle and jiggle, and I even double checked that the spline was lined up, and it was. Everything was clean. I don't know if I should have oiled it or what, but anyways, I slid it in there, and oh man, what a dream to get in there. Anyways, we got her in. I put this back shaft in here. I ended up putting the front shaft in too. I actually had to use the other shaft because it is actually like a quarter, maybe a half inch only different, probably about a half-inch difference, but that half-inch is enough to make it not fit in there. Like, they fit tight, but with me with the leveling kit and I don't have the proper control arms, the axle's back a bit is what I'm wondering. I'm thinking that's why it fits a little bit tight. Anyways, I had to use the factory one, or the factory manual one, which the U-joints up top were fine, but the bottom one wasn't good. So the yokes are fine, the same in the bottom, so I took the yoke out of my drive shaft, put it in that one, and it all worked good. So we are buttoned up. The truck, I got, like I said, I got the steering cooler, or the transmission cooler. The interior is all done proper, minus that shift boot there, but otherwise everything's proper. Cracked my dash putting the steering back together, but what can you do? It's really brittle. A couple years ago I pulled it apart a couple times and it didn't give me any issues, but just the past couple years it's gotten really brittle. So yeah, I think that's it for the Nv4500 swap part 4. We're just gonna take it for a drive. It's nighttime now, so I think I'm gonna wait until tomorrow just to make sure our clutch is A1 and adjust it properly. Alright guys, so I took a break from this thing for a night or so. Went to town with my girlfriends, relaxed, because this thing, it was a big job. It was a lot of work to do everything properly with doing that power steer, or the transmission cooler up front. I don't know why I keep calling it a power steering cooler. Anyways, bypassing that, doing the whole interior, everything. Just to clarify everything, everybody's been commenting saying that I've been doing such a good job with being very in depth, and there's one thing that I forgot to show you guys, and that was the slave cylinder install. So your slave cylinder, when you put that on, it comes with a plastic piece that you're supposed to put on it. Mine was already broke on the tip of that slave cylinder on the rod. You have to put your leave that plastic on. I installed it without it and got informed from my buddy that you're supposed to leave that on.
I guess it's just a little bit of a cushion for it on that clutch fork, so it's not metal on metal there. So put that in there, bolt it in, or studs. Mine had bolts, some have studs with nuts. Put that in. So your 4-wheel drive linkage, all you got to do, go underneath the truck, right underneath the cab here, and there is a 12mm bolt. Loosen that off. You might have to whack on the linkage. There's just a rod that goes through it, because you'll find your linkage is off. You can't shift it because it's too long. You have to shorten it up because you came farther ahead. So what I did was got my girlfriend to come in the truck here, and she held that linkage there straight up. I physically, before I put the front drive shaft in, I shifted it manually under there with my hand on the rod, made sure it was in 2-wheel drive, because I knew all the way back was 4-wheel drive high, 2-wheel drive high, neutral, and then 4-wheel drive low. So I put it in 2-wheel drive high, made sure that the front output shaft spun freely, that it was in 2-wheel drive, then made sure she held the transfer case shifter straight up. Tighten that linkage down and you're set. You're good to go. So anyways, that's about all I want to show you guys. We're gonna start this thing up and let it warm up, and make sure that we're not gonna have any coolant temperature spikes, because we're gonna have some air in the system from doing that transmission cooler, taking that off. So we're gonna take that off, or we're gonna make sure that it doesn't have any coolant spikes. We'll let it run here in the driveway, and then we're gonna go for a test drive, and hopefully this thing's all right. Hey guys, so we just pulled the truck out of the garage. I didn't film pulling me out of the garage because it's only an 8-foot garage door, and I had to get used to driving a standard. So we're just pulled down the road here, and we're just basically just trying out the transmission here and trying to learn the truck. No lights on the dash or anything, and yeah, I'm just trying to learn how to make this thing smooth. So here we go. There's first. It is low, like we're doing 10 kilometers an hour and we're just revving like crazy. So the south bend clutch, you do have to shift it slower. I noticed. I've never driven one of these with a single disc, but we got no noise when we put the clutch in, like some guys are complaining. I'm thinking that's the really old south bends that don't have the rubber Kevlar buttons on the intermediate plate. So there's no noise when I put this clutch in. It's actually is very smooth. I know it's not worked in yet, but it's actually really smooth. I was expecting it to be grabby since it's full ceramic, but it's really smooth, and I'm trying to get onto it here. All the synchros in the transmission seem to be fine. As you can see, it takes a bit to pop it into gear there, and yeah, it seems really fine. It revs a lot lower than the automatic. You're not revving out all over. You can cruise around. It's a lot quieter. The thing runs so much better. I'm really happy with it. So I think that concludes our Nv4500 swap, or 47RE to our Nv4500 swap, and yeah, we'll give a bit more driving footage here, and that's that. And I hope you enjoyed all the swap videos. It was a lot of fun and a lot of work. In total, it took me about I think we started on Monday. We started on Monday, and it is Friday now when I'm driving it.